The sky over Zerelia was always dark, not because it was night, but because the sun had died long ago. The air was cold, the ground dry and cracked. Once, this planet was full of life. Now it was full of hunger. In the middle of a broken city there was a secret market. This was not a place for food or tools. This was a place where living beings were sold. Slavery had returned to Zerelia, quiet, hidden, but alive. Crowds gathered, their faces tired and dirty. Some were buyers. Others were just curious. But all of them watched as a metal cage was pushed to the front. Inside the cage stood a woman. She was not human. Her skin was a soft silver blue, her eyes wide and glowing. Her face looked young, but her eyes were full of pain. Her clothes were torn. Her hands were tied. She held her head high. She did not cry. But she looked again and again toward the back of the cage, where a small child sat. The child was thin and shaking, barely able to sit up. His eyes were half closed. His mother looked at him with fear, not fear for herself, but fear that he would not survive another day. A voice echoed from a speaker above. Next for sale. Female Zerelian, healthy, skilled in language, farming, and tech work. Starting price, 2,000 credits. The crowd murmured. Some laughed. Others shouted offers. The woman's name was Jaya. She had chosen this. No one forced her. She gave herself up, hoping that someone would give food and care to her child in exchange. But, now that she stood here, being sold like an object, her heart shook. Still, she stayed silent. Her child, Ro, was all that mattered. Suddenly, the crowd fell quiet. A tall figure had entered the market. He wore a long black coat. His boots were heavy. A weapon hung from his side. His face was hidden under a metal helmet with a dark screen. No one could see his eyes. A whisper passed through the crowd. A human? What is he doing here? Humans were rare on Zerelia. Most had left years ago. Those who stayed were either soldiers or monsters. The auctioneer looked nervous. "Sir, are you here to buy?" he asked. The human said nothing. He walked forward slowly. The crowd stepped back. No one wanted to stand in his way. He stopped in front of Jaya's cage. Jaya looked up at him. Her heart pounded. She had heard stories about humans, cold, dangerous, cruel. But this one just stood there. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then, without a word, the human raised his hand. The auctioneer nodded quickly. Sold, to the human, for 10,000 credits. Everyone gasped. That was 5 times the asking price. The human walked away. Guards opened the cage and pulled Jaya and her child out. She held Ro close, wrapping him in her arms. She expected pain. She expected chains. Instead, she was led to a sleek black ship. The door opened with a soft hiss. Warm air rushed out. It smelled clean. She stepped inside. There were no cages, no weapons pointed at her. Just silence. The human sat in the pilot's seat. He removed his helmet. His face was young, but tired. His eyes were deep brown. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He simply pressed a button, and the ship lifted off. Jia held Ro tight. He had fallen asleep in her arms. She didn't know what would happen next. Was this a trick? Would the kindness end? She sat in a corner waiting. After a while, the human stood and walked to a small room. He returned with 2 plates of food and a blanket. He placed them on the floor near her. Then he walked away without a word. Jaya looked at the food. Real food. Warm, smelling good. She fed Ro slowly. Then, for the first time in many days, she ate too. Tears filled her eyes. Who was this man? Why did he save them? And what did he want in return? She looked at her child, now sleeping peacefully. For today they were safe. But in her heart, a new fear was rising. Was the price she paid going to come later? Was this man a savior? or something much darker. The ship flew on through the stars, and the mystery of the silent human had only just begun. Jaya opened her eyes slowly. Soft lights glowed above her. The air was warm and smelled like clean metal and flowers. Her arms were wrapped around her child, Ro, who still slept quietly against her chest. For the first time in days, he wasn't shaking, but Jaya's heart wasn't calm. She remembered the auction, the man in the black coat, the dark screen hiding his face, the moment he raised his hand and bought her without a single word. No bargain, no threat, just silence. She looked around. This was not a slave ship. It was peaceful. No chains, no cages, no guards. Only the gentle hum of a powerful engine and smooth silver walls. The ship felt like it was breathing, alive, but calm. Jaya slowly stood up. Her legs trembled, but she stayed quiet. She didn't want to wake Ro. There was a folded blanket nearby, a bottle of clean water, a second plate of food, and still, no sign of the human. Was this a test? Was he watching her? She picked up the food and water and placed them near her son. Then cautiously she stepped into the hallway. The floors were soft under her bare feet. The ship was quiet. Too quiet. Every step she took echoed slightly. She passed a glass window. Outside, stars drifted in the endless black of space. Her planet, the dying cold world of Xyrelia, was already far behind. Suddenly, a door slid open ahead. Jaya froze. The human stood in front of her. No helmet this time, just his face. Sharp, serious, unreadable. They stared at each other. Jaya didn't speak. She didn't know what to say. She didn't even know his name. But the human did something unexpected. He stepped aside. He pointed toward a small room behind him, a medical bay. Jaya didn't move. The human spoke, his voice, low and dry. Your son is sick. He needs treatment this way. Jaya's eyes widened. It was the first time she heard his voice. There was no anger in it, just truth. She nodded slowly, walked back, and carried Ro in her arms. The human led them into the med bay where machines blinked softly. He gently placed a scanner over Ro's chest. The screen showed weak readings, malnutrition, fatigue, organ stress. The human spoke again. He needs care. It will take a few days. Jaya couldn't hold back her question anymore. Her voice trembled. Why? Are you helping us? The why? Human didn't answer. He stared at the screen for a long time. Then he turned and walked out. Jaya stood there confused, afraid, but also curious. That night, Jaya sat near Ro, who now had a warm blanket and soft beeping monitors around him. She held his tiny hand and whispered old Xyrelian songs to keep herself calm. Suddenly, the door opened again. The human entered, with a steaming cup in his hand. He handed it to her. Hot herbal tea. Safe. Scented with mint and honey. Jaya looked up at him. Who are you? She asked. He hesitated, then finally answered, Marcus Wren. Captain. That was all he said before he walked out again. Jaya repeated the name in her mind. Marcus. A name with no anger. Just emptiness. Why would a captain come to a dying planet and buy a starving mother and child, and not ask for anything in return? She stayed awake that night wondering. The next day she explored the ship a little more. There was a kitchen, real food, a small garden room, with green plants growing in artificial light, a library screen with stories in many languages. Everything was clean, organized, and filled with silence. Marcus didn't speak much, but he always left food, medicine, blankets, small things that showed he cared, without saying it. One day she saw a photo. It was hidden in a corner of the control room. A human woman and a little girl, both smiling. Jaya picked it up gently. Marcus walked in behind her. His voice was low. My wife and daughter. They're gone now. Jaya turned to him, surprised. He took the photo from her hands, looked at it, for a moment, then put it away. I came to Zirelia for supplies, he said. I wasn't supposed to stay long. He paused. But then I saw you. And your son. And I couldn't walk away. He didn't explain more. He didn't need to. For the first time, Jaya saw something in his eyes. Not pain, not guilt, but something close to hope. Maybe Marcus wasn't trying to save her. Maybe he was trying to save himself. That night, Jaya sat beside her, sleeping, sun, and stared out the window. Stars moved past like soft lanterns in the sky. She didn't know where they were going. But for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid. Not because she trusted Marcus, but because she wanted to. And sometimes, even in the darkest places, trust begins with silence. The ship floated silently through space, a blackbird gliding between stars. Inside, the lights were dim. The engines made a soft hum like a heartbeat. Jaya sat in the small garden room, holding a warm cup. Her son, Ro, was sleeping peacefully, his health slowly returning. Everything felt calm. But behind the silence, something heavy still lived in the ship. That weight belonged to Marcus Wren. Marcus stared out the control room window, his eyes lost in the stars. He wasn't watching where they were going. He was watching the past. Sleep had become a stranger to him. Every time he closed his eyes, it returned. The fire, the screaming, the loss. That night, the night he lost everything. 3 years ago, Earth was attacked. A sudden, brutal strike from a rogue alien fleet known as the Varnari. It wasn't a war. It was a massacre. Marcus had been a pilot in the Stellar Peace Corps. A good one. But he wasn't home the night the Varnari bombed New Geneva, the city where his wife and daughter lived. He got the message too late. By the time he returned, there was only dust. He remembered standing in the ruins, holding his daughter's burnt toy rabbit. It still smelled like lavender. His soul had cracked that day. The war ended, the enemy destroyed, and Marcus received medals for bravery. But he didn't want medals. He wanted his family. So he left. He took his ship, disappeared into the outer systems, and avoided Earth. He helped where he could: silent missions, supply runs, refugee rescues. But he never stayed anywhere long. He wasn't running from others. He was running from himself. Back in the present, Marcus walked the hallway toward the med bay. Jaya was sitting there, brushing Ro's hair with her fingers. She looked up. For once, she didn't look afraid. He sat down across from her. There was silence between them again. But this time, it wasn't cold. Jaya spoke softly. Thank you for helping him. Marcus gave a small nod. He's strong. Like you. She hesitated, then asked what had been growing in her heart since the day he bought her. Why did you save us? Marcus didn't speak for a long time. Then, slowly, he stood up and walked over to the medbay shelf. He pulled out a small black case. Inside it was a hollow photo, faded and scratched. He placed it on the table. Jaya leaned forward and saw 2 smiling humans, a woman with curly hair and a young girl with bright eyes holding a stuffed rabbit. My wife. My daughter, Marcus said. They're gone. Jaya lowered her eyes. Her heart ached, not just for her own past, but his too. Marcus continued, his voice rough. I've saved refugees, carried medicine, fought pirates, but nothing changed the fact that I failed them. Jaya didn't know what to say, so she said the only thing she could. You didn't fail us. Those words struck him harder than any laser blast. He looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't just an alien mother anymore. She was someone who understood pain. That night, Marcus dreamed again. But this time it was different. In the dream, he stood on a cliff. Behind him, fire. In front of him, a little boy, Ro, reaching up, calling him protector. And Jaya stood beside him, not broken, but glowing. When he woke up, he sat still for a long time. Then he made a decision. Later that day, Jaya found something strange in the control room. Marcus had added 2 small chairs next to the pilot seat. One child-sized, one for her. She looked at him. He didn't explain. He didn't need to. Ro giggled as Marcus let him press buttons on the dashboard. Jaya smiled, a real smile, the first in years. She sat in the new chair, quietly watching the stars fly by. Marcus finally turned to her and asked, "Do you want to choose where we go next?" Jaya was surprised. No one had asked her that. In a very long time. She pointed to a glowing nebula on the screen. "There," she said. "It looks peaceful." Marcus nodded. Peace sounds good, but peace never lasts forever. Far behind them, deep in the dark corners of the galaxy, a signal blinked. Red. Dangerous. Tracking them, because someone was looking for Jaya, and he was not coming to help. The sound of soft laughter echoed through the ship. Not the cold hum of engines, not the silence of space, but the pure, warm laugh of a child. Marcus Wren turned his head from the control panel. Behind him, little Ro was chasing a small floating cleaning drone, trying to catch the alien bug, as he called it. Jaya stood nearby, watching her son with a tired but honest smile. Her silver-blue skin looked healthier now. Her eyes, once full of fear, held something softer, something like hope. It had been 2 weeks since they left Shirelia, and everything was changing. Marcus had added small comforts to the ship. A blanket fort in the cargo bay, a coloring pad on the kitchen table, child-sized headphones for music. He didn't speak about it much, but he did it all anyway. Ro noticed. One day, while Jaya was resting, Ro ran up to Marcus with a toy ship. He held it out and said, "Can you fix this, Protector?" Marcus paused. He had been called many things in his life: soldier, captain, coward, survivor, but never protector. It hit something deep inside him. He kneeled down and took the toy gently. "Yeah, I can fix it." Later, in the evening, Jaya found the two sitting side by side on the floor, Marcus working on the toy ship, and Ro talking endlessly about space dragons, star pirates, and how he wanted to be strong like Captain Protector. Jaya stood in the doorway and watched quietly. She didn't say it out loud, but in that moment, Marcus looked more like a father than a captain. That night, while Ro slept curled up with the repaired toy, Marcus and Jaya sat in the control room. No words at first, just stars outside the window and soft music playing in the background, a lullaby from old Earth. Finally, Jaya spoke. "He trusts you." Marcus didn't turn. "He should trust you. You're his mother." Jaya shook her head slowly. "He's been scared for so long. But now, when he looks at you, he smiles." Marcus replied after a long silence, "He reminds me of someone." Jaya looked at him. "Your daughter?" He nodded. She had that same laugh. Light, like it could melt ice. Jaya placed a hand on the armrest, near his. Not touching, just close. "Maybe she sent him to you." Marcus didn't reply, but his eyes glistened. He didn't believe in signs. But maybe, just maybe, the universe had given him a second chance. The next morning, something changed. The ship's alert system beeped. A soft red warning light blinked in the corner of the dashboard. Marcus frowned. It wasn't a fire, not an engine failure, it was a scan. Someone was looking for them, someone using old military tracking signals. Marcus turned off the alarm quickly, not wanting to scare Jaya or Ro, but his mind was no longer calm. Who would track a refugee ship? He checked the code again. It was old, but familiar. Varnari tech. Modified. A bounty hunter, a smuggler, or worse. Someone from Jaya's past. Meanwhile, in the living quarters, Ro climbed into Jaya's lap. Mama, are we staying with Marcus forever? Jaya smiled sadly. Do you want to? Ro nodded fast. He makes pancakes and fixes my toys, and he doesn't shout. Jaya brushed back his soft white hair. Then we'll stay as long as we can. Later, Marcus joined them for dinner. He didn't mention the scan. Not yet. Instead, he listened as Ro told him about his new idea for a spaceship powered by alien jelly beans. Marcus smiled, just a little. You'll need a strong engine for that. Ro grinned. You'll build it with me. Jaya laughed, and for a moment, everything felt like home. That night, as everyone slept, Marcus sat alone in the control room, staring at the blinking signal still tracking them. He tapped the screen, zoomed in on the location, whoever it was. They were getting closer. In another part of the galaxy, a tall armored alien stared at his own screen. He saw the blinking dot on his map, Marcus's ship. He smiled, showing sharp teeth. Found you, he hissed. The mother and child will return, or they will burn. His ship turned silently toward the stars. Back on Marcus's ship, Ro mumbled in his sleep. Protect her. Don't leave. Marcus stood outside the door, listening. He whispered back, words the boy could not hear. I won't. The stars didn't shine as bright that day. Even space felt colder. Jaya felt it first. A strange pressure in the air, like something heavy was about to fall. She was feeding Ro in the kitchen when a low beep echoed through the ship. Not the usual beep. This one was sharp, urgent, dangerous. Marcus rushed in from the control room. We have a problem, he said, voice calm but tight. Jaya stood instantly alert. What kind of problem? Marcus didn't answer right away. Instead, he touched the wall panel and a hologram appeared, a red blinking dot moving fast toward them. That ship has been following us for 3 days, he explained. Now it's coming straight at us. No ID, no reply. Jaya's hands trembled, she already knew. It's a hunter, she whispered. They're here for me. Far in the distance, the hunter's ship tore through space like a silent blade. Inside, the pilot, a tall, spiked alien named Kyreth, smiled wickedly. Run if you like, little Shirelian, he growled. But you were sold. You belong to me now. He tapped a button. A message prepared, not for communication, for fear. On Marcus's ship, the screen flashed red. A video played. Kyreth's face appeared. Metallic armor, glowing red eyes, and a voice like thunder. To the human who stole what is mine. You have one chance. Return the mother and the child, or I'll take them from your cold hands. The message ended. Silence returned. But it wasn't peaceful anymore. Marcus stood still. Jaya clutched Ro, who now looked frightened. We can't fight him, she said quickly. He's not just a hunter. He works with the underground slave rings. He owns war bots. Marcus raised a hand. I know what he is. Jaya's voice cracked. Then leave me. Put me in an escape pod. Let him take me. Just keep Ro safe. Marcus turned to her, eyes full of steel. I don't leave family. Jaya stared at him. She wanted to believe those words, but the fear inside her was louder. The hunter's ship arrived. A massive shadow darkened their viewports. Red lights blinked along its wings. It was twice the size of Marcus's vessel, with weapons exposed like teeth. Suddenly a blast shook their ship. Shields down to 60%, Marcus said. We need to fight or run. He tapped the controls. The ship turned sharply, diving toward an asteroid field. Hold tight. The next few minutes were chaos. Marcus's ship dodged between rocks, lasers blasting behind them. Ro cried out, hiding under a chair. Jaya held him tightly, whispering to him, trying not to scream herself. Marcus flew like a ghost. Smooth, fast, focused. He knew every turn, but Kyreth was a hunter, and he never missed a target. Another hit shook the ship. Sparks flew. The lights flickered. Jaya yelled, We won't survive another shot. Marcus nodded grimly. Then we don't get hit again. He opened the weapons panel and handed her a headset. Can you shoot? She hesitated. I used to. Long ago. Then help me. Protect your son. Jaya sat at the second seat, fingers trembling over the controls. The hunter's ship reappeared in front of them, preparing a final strike. Marcus shouted, Now! Jaya pressed the trigger. Twin lasers shot from the underbelly of the ship, straight into the hunter's wing. Boom! A fireball burst through space. The hunter's ship veered off, sparks flying, but not destroyed. Kareth roared in anger. You! Dare fight me? He slammed a fist into his console. You'll pay for that, human. He launched a grapple, a magnetic claw that latched onto Marcus's ship and began pulling it in. Inside, red alarm screamed. He's dragging us in, Marcus growled. We can't break free. Jaya looked at Ro, then at Marcus. There is one way, she said. Open the external panels, I'll go out. Use the cargo eject to launch me toward his ship. He wants me, right? Let him take me. And when I'm close, fire everything you've got. Marcus turned, furious. You want me to use you as bait? You said we're family. Then trust me. A moment later, space opened. Jaya stood inside the launch bay. In a spacesuit, her eyes focused and full of fire. Marcus stood at the control. Don't die, he said. She smiled. I won't. You have to finish this. With a blast of air, she was launched like a dart toward Kareth's ship. He opened a hatch to pull her in. But before he could lock it, Marcus fired. Missiles. Plasma. All of it. The explosion lit up the sky. Kareth's ship cracked, burned, and finally went silent. Jaya drifted, her suit spinning in the darkness. Marcus reached out with the grabber arm and pulled her back inside. She collapsed into his arms, breathing hard. He held her tightly. Don't ever do that again. She smiled weakly. You're welcome. Ro ran to her, hugging her legs. Mama, you came back. She lifted him up, tears in her eyes. I always will. Behind them, the stars were quiet again, but the fire inside them had only just begun. The battle was over. The hunter's ship was gone, reduced to silent metal drifting through space. But peace was not immediate. Inside the ship, silence returned. Not the cold silence of fear, but the heavy silence that follows survival. Jaya sat on the floor of the medical bay, holding a warm cup. Her hands were still shaking, not from cold, not from pain, from everything. Marcus stood across from her, leaning against the wall, arms crossed. He had a deep cut on his shoulder, now wrapped in fresh bandages. His face was calm, but his eyes, they were full of questions. Neither had spoken since the rescue. Ro was asleep again, curled under a blanket, still holding the toy ship Marcus had fixed, the same ship he had called Protector's rocket. Jaya watched her son's chest rise and fall, slow and peaceful. She turned to Marcus. You should have let me go, she said. Marcus didn't respond. You risked your ship, your life, for us. Still, silence. She stood up slowly, walked to the window, and stared out at the stars. You don't owe us anything. Now Marcus spoke. Just 2 words. That's not why. Jaya looked back at him. Then why? Marcus stepped forward, stopping just a few feet from her. Because I've lost people before, and I refuse to lose you too. The words were simple, but they weren't small. Jaya's heart beat faster. She wasn't sure what it meant. Was it guilt? Was it love? Or was it something more human, like healing? Later, Marcus sat at the main control panel, going through the ship's systems. Jaya entered quietly. He looked up, surprised to see her holding a small bag. Inside were a few things: a photo of Ro, a crystal from Shirelia, and a small mapstone. She placed the bag on the dashboard. We'll leave at the next planet, she said. Marcus blinked. Leave? Yes, she replied softly. You've done enough. You gave us food, shelter, safety. Now it's time I give you your ship back. Your freedom. Marcus stood up. Jaya. She held up a hand. No, more running. Ro needs to grow up free, but not always hiding. Marcus walked closer, I understand, but what if your freedom isn't away from me? What if it's here? She didn't answer. So he opened a drawer beside him and pulled out a small device. It was a contract breaker, an official tool from the Peace Corps, used to free bound individuals, he'd handed it to her. You're no longer my responsibility. You're no longer under anyone's control. Jaya stared at the device. It blinked once. Green. Her slavery, legal or illegal, was over. Just like that. Marcus stepped back and whispered, "You're free." She held the device in her hand. It felt heavier than it looked. For so long she had dreamed of this moment. Freedom. And yet, she didn't feel joy. Not yet. She felt empty. Jaya walked to her sleeping son and sat beside him. She stroked his hair, kissed his forehead. She whispered softly, "We're free, little one." Ro stirred, then opened his eyes slightly. "Are we leaving the ship?" Jaya looked at Marcus, then back at her son. "Do you want to?" Ro sat up, sleepy-eyed. "No, I want pancakes, and I want to fly with Protector again." She laughed. Not because it was funny, but because in that simple answer Ro had chosen something she hadn't allowed herself to, belonging. Jaya returned to the control room. Marcus was sitting quietly, his face unreadable. She placed the contract breaker on the table. "I'm free now." Marcus nodded slowly. She added, "So I choose to stay." His head turned sharply. His eyes searched hers. "You're sure?" She smiled. "Not as your slave, not as a refugee, but as part of this crew, as a partner." Marcus stood up, straightened his back. "Then welcome aboard, Jaya. Officially." The next morning, the ship changed. A new nameplate was added near the entrance, the Starbound. Below it 3 names were engraved: Marcus Renzia of Zerelia Roe family. Not by blood, but by choice. In the kitchen, Ro helped flip pancakes with too much syrup. In the engine bay, Jaya learned to fix a power coil. And in the cockpit, Marcus finally smiled again. For the first time in years, he wasn't flying alone. The ship moved gently through the void, a small light in a sea of stars. But inside the ship, there was life. Laughter echoed from the kitchen, not the wild, chaotic laugh of warlords or pirates, but the warm, sweet giggle of a child flipping pancakes, far too big for his plate. Ro stood on a stool wearing a little apron that read "Co-pilot in training." He had flour on his nose, syrup on his fingers, and a grin brighter than any sun. Across the table, Marcus sat with a mug of tea, watching the boy with amused eyes. Jaya entered with a datapad in one hand and an energy wrench in the other. "The stabilizers are humming again. Did someone—" She stopped, then smirked. "Use the cargo bay as a racetrack?" Ro raised a hand proudly. "I was practicing escape drills." Marcus laughed. "We're raising a star runner." Jaya rolled her eyes playfully and sat beside them. The smell of real food filled the room. The ship didn't feel like steel anymore. It felt like home. 3 months had passed since they defeated Kareth, the hunter. His wreckage still floated, somewhere out there, silent, broken, forgotten. But the Starbound had not stopped. Together they had flown across moons, spaceports, and quiet planets. Not as fugitives, but as something new. A crew, a team, a family. Marcus taught Ro how to fly, slowly, patiently. Jaya repaired systems, upgraded shields, and learned human engineering faster than any tech Marcus had met. And Ro, he named every part of the ship, even the coffee machine. One evening they landed on a small moon called Velun 3, a peaceful place with blue grass and glowing trees. They had come to deliver medicine to a sick colony. As they walked through the fields, a small, Zerelian girl saw Jaya and ran to her. "You're like me," the girl shouted. Jaya knelt and smiled. "Yes, you're not alone anymore." Marcus watched from a distance. He saw Jaya's strength, her grace. The way she healed others simply by existing. She was no longer a slave. She was a leader. Later, that night while Rose slept under a blanket of stars, Marcus sat beside Jaya by a campfire. He looked up at the sky. I spent so long drifting, thinking I had no future, that my story ended the day Earth burned. Jaya turned to him. But it didn't. He nodded. It just changed direction. She looked at him. Really looked. Not as the man who bought her. Not even as the captain. But as the man who gave her back her voice. "We're not who we were," she said. "Not anymore." Marcus smiled. "No. We're something better." They sat in silence, warm and whole. Back aboard the Starbound, Roe found something on the floor. A broken part of the old hunter's tracking device. He brought it to Marcus. "Can we fix it?" Marcus shook his head. "Some things are better left broken." The next day they took off again. This time no one was chasing them. No one was hunting them. And for the first time, they weren't running. They were flying forward, toward something new. Marcus added one final touch to the ship. A small symbol near the cockpit, a star wrapped in two hands. Beneath it, a phrase in both English and Zarellian. "Family is not blood. It is choice." Months turned into seasons. The ship became known across small systems, not as a warship or a mercenary craft, but as the Starbound family. They helped where others would not. They gave hope to the lost, and slowly their legend grew. In the end, they didn't save the galaxy. They didn't fight an empire, but they did something more powerful. They saved each other. One quiet night, as the ship sailed between stars, Roe looked up at Marcus. "Do you think stars are alive?" Marcus smiled. "Maybe. Then I think one of them is watching us." Jaya stepped in. "Who?" Roe pointed to the biggest star outside the window. "That one. I think it's your daughter." Marcus didn't speak. He didn't need to. Tear rolled down his cheek, not from pain but from peace. And so they flew on. 3 souls, 1 ship, and a sky full of stories waiting to be written.